thought that some more can join. As you already seen how the Constitution was made and how much effort it was put in, and so it was a celebration by the young democracy on 26th November 1949, when after a lot of efforts put in and the Constitution was given to the Constituent Assembly to. Yes, please come in. We are waiting for you. Come. So, dear guests, keynote speaker Richard Mantosh, my colleagues from the Consulate, a very good evening now to all of you. I welcome you all and extend my warm greetings on the Indian Constitution Day. It's a very special day for India when, after the independence from the British rule on 15th August 1947, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the new constitution, which came into effect on 26 January 1950. And you can see the book, that this is the massive book of the constitution. Preparation of the Indian Constitution was very hard and dedicated work by the Constituent's drafting committee, as you just saw in the documentary, chaired by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. It took 2 years, 11 months, 18 days, 11 sessions, 165 sittings, and 6.4 million Indian rupees to prepare, and that Indian rupees that time, to prepare this constitution for the young Republic of India. The Indian Constitution provides establishment of equality in the Indian society and equal justice for all in the country, irrespective of the sect, caste, creed, race, region, language and religion. It also provides all kinds of amenities and rights for the weaker sections of the society and women for their economic and political equality and their upliftment in the society. As you just saw in the movie, that there was no 8 hours of work, no equal wages for the ladies, and all this was kept in the constitution, especially Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar fought especially for the weaker section and for the women, so that they can come up and work shoulder to shoulder, otherwise 50% of the population will be out of work. Our constitution provides all its citizens rights and freedom as envisaged therein and guides the governments and the administration to govern the country well within the defined framework of rules and regulations enshrined in it. I can proudly say that our constitution has proved itself worthy of it and is guiding India to become as one of the developed nations in days to come. The politically and economically resurging India, in fact, is already getting respect worldwide as one of the fast developing nations, and in coming years will achieve its well-deserved place as Vishwa Guru, which in fact it was a millennia back. As you have just heard when I was reading the preamble of the Constitution, it made India a sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic. India being one of the biggest democracies of the world, upholding rights and wishes of her citizens, proudly flourish and cherish as one of the best republics among the community of nations. India is a democracy par excellence. The strength of our democracy is evidenced by the recent general election for the federal parliament held in 7 phases from 11th April to 19 May 2019. About 900 million people, which is more than the combined population of Europe, were eligible to vote, and 67%, highest ever, actually voted. And it's a massive number. That means more than 600 million voters actually exercised their rights to vote during this election. You would be amazed to know that the total registered voters in India are more than 10 times of the total population of Germany. Switching to power from one regime to another has always been a smooth affair. It goes to the credit of the strong institutions of democracy, thanks to the constitutional provisions that for the last 7 decades it has been an oasis of stability in the region, which is otherwise troubled by unrest. India is the only country where all the elections were held on time, in timely manner, democratically, despite the fact that the surrounding nations around, whether it's west or east or south or north, have the troubled past as far as democracy is concerned. We have among us, of course, the London young keynote speaker, Mr. Richard Mantos, who will deliberate more about the specific provisions of the Indian Constitution. He also represents here the young, well-informed and highly educated Indian youth, and at the same time the global citizens around the world. Thank you, Richard, for accepting our invitation and coming forward to share your knowledge on this befitting occasion which suits with your own qualification and experience. We all look forward to hear from your keynote speech. I feel also delighted to note that the Indian diaspora, having come from a democratic and secular country that is India, and living here in Germany, is well respected by the local authorities and the populace for their intellect, sheer hard work and honesty. It is a matter of to feel proud that 30 million Indian diaspora living abroad are treated as peaceful, law-abiding citizens all over the world due to the legacy of their home country, which is India, believes in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means that the whole world is our family. On every forum wherever I talk, wherever I get an opportunity also to interact with or address our Indian diaspora, some are here also, I ask them to respect the law of the land, be loyal to the country they live in, but at the same time they should not forget their roots and make India proud with whatever they do. I request the Indian diaspora parents also to encourage and teach their children about the wonderful history, roots, colorful culture and rich heritage of the vibrant and now resurging modern India. Please keep yourself well informed of the developments taking place in your home country, that's India, as well as the country you live in. Please also spend some time to browse through Consulate's webpage and social media pages which provide you important information that could be of your immense use later. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Some of you were given a piece of paper with a few questions. I'm sure you have filled it up. Could we collect the same? Or do you want to have some more time? All of you ready? Not yet? Okay, we give you some more time. We hear the keynote speaker and then we give you some more time. Yeah, and the new ones who have come, the students from Chicago or the others. So pay attention and listen well and answer the questions correctly. So, now we will see a PowerPoint presentation and hear a talk by Mr. Richard Mantosh, an international lawyer who is the co-head of the India desk at Guatemala Court Legal. He has studied law in Kolkata and Hamburg. His experience includes practicing right up to the Supreme Court of India and working for a multinational. Richard also contributes his skills by advocating for environmental protection, authoring legal publications, as well as speaking at national conferences. Richard, the floor is now yours.
A very good evening to everybody. Mr. Consul General. Mr. Consul General, Mr. Vice Consul, Ghosh, everybody else present here from the Consulate and in the audience. So, most of whatever I was planning to say has already been spoken about in the video, so I'm going to have to come up with some new stuff right now. I would first of all just quickly go through the timeline of the Constituent Assembly that was formed before our independence, and quickly speak about the timeline. I don't think it is readable, but I'll just speak about it in brief. That there were 299 members in the Constituent Assembly, out of which 70 members was from the princely states, the federation, the loose federation of states before India as a union was created. So there were a lot of princely states there. So everybody's voice had to be heard while creating this constitution. So the head of the drafting committee was Dr. Ambedkar, who we have already seen about, and he studied in India, in London and in New York. So he had the exposure of knowing 3 different jurisdictions before sitting and chairing the committee for drafting the constitution. And as Mr. Consul General already mentioned, it took almost 3 years to create this constitution, and the members that were 299 or almost 300 members was taken in the ratio of 1:10 lakh, that's 1 million. So there were 300 million people that time in India, and therefore this was balanced out in a very equitable way. So we talk about in general our fundamental rights. And as you can see, these are the core fundamental rights that are there. And the right to equality is as self-explanatory, that everybody, irrespective of the caste, creed, religion, color, is treated the same way. There is no difference whatsoever. I mean, if you're an Indian, you are an Indian firstly and lastly. There's nothing that comes in between when you're being treated by the law. This is a very, I would say, one of the most important rights, the right to freedom of expression. It doesn't mean, it means you could, we have a free press in India, which is not very common when you see around the world. A free press and a very vibrant press, very constructive criticism is put against any government, and it's, journalism is very proactive there, and this doesn't only include the press. It could also mean your right to live anywhere in India, to practice any profession you want, any business. So this right is one of the most core fundamental rights that was put in. The right against exploitation, child labor, any form of direct or indirect exploitation was something that also had to be put into place to safeguard any exploitation that would take place in the future. Right to freedom of religion. When we were created, when we came together as a nation in 1950, our nation was created in the sense that there are multiple religions in India. Personally, myself, I'm a Christian. But I've never felt once in my life that I'm not part of the main system. There are Hindus, there are Muslims, there are Christians, there are Buddhists, there are Jains, there are even Jews. The city where I come from, in Kolkata, there's a synagogue which is still active. So you have people from various religions, and you're free to practice your faith. The state does not get involved and tell you how your relationship should be conducted with God. So this is one of the foundations of our system of secularism. Cultural and educational rights is one other very important thing that we have there, because as you know, India is very diverse. It's a vast country, different cultures, different languages, and everybody has the right to preserve their culture by having minority institutes. You can have a minority institute, you can have a Hindu institute, a Muslim institute, or a Christian institute having their own education system. There is a right to preserve your language, your culture, which is protected by the Constitution. These are all constitutional protections that are there. So if any of your constitutional rights are violated, you can always go up to the highest court, that is the Supreme Court, by a writ, and have those rights reinstated back to you. So these things were very meticulously planned out, that our founding fathers of the nation knew that if these rights are not met out, what is going to be us? I mean, there has to be, we cannot be idealistic and say these rights will always be there. The rights are going to be violated, but we made sure our provision was there by the Supreme Court to make sure that these rights are given back to the citizens, and if need be, sanctions are even put on public institutes that don't grant these rights. This is not part of the Constitution officially, but this is a very recent right by the Supreme Court, which said that the right to privacy is something that is also in Article 21, the right to personal liberty, and it doesn't only include in your house, or it includes an individual walking even on the street, that you have a private space that has to be respected. So these are rights which have come up even in Europe. We have these rights, the GDPR laws. There are various rights of privacy that are taken very seriously these days. So these are some interesting facts about the Constitution. So as it was already mentioned that the preamble is written in Hindi and English. This was already there, and it was handwritten in Hindi and English. So it's actually quite unique. We'll get to know more stuff about it. It's the longest handwritten constitution in the world. The English version has 117,369 words. It's completely exhaustive in nature. It's a wide and encompasses everything. There was no stone unturned to make sure that everybody was given a very substantial right in this matter. You can see there's also some very interesting artistic ingenuity there by some artists from a place in India called Shanti Niketan. So these artists, these things were put in to show the cultural diversity of India. They were added in to make the Constitution put in various aspects, and in trade, in commerce. It's very beautifully designed. You can probably have a look that it's there already. This is just one of the pictures that are there. This Constitution is stored in a helium casket or case in the Library of Parliament of India, the original copy. So it's quite, it's been preserved, it's kept there, and yeah. That is our national emblem that was also adopted, the Ashoka Chakra. That's of course our flag there. So these are all very interesting facts. This is one of the other things I've come across that mentions the Constitution ideas across the world. So we never copy-pasted, as many people would think, that from a lot of laws. Our Constitution was a bag of borrowings. We took what we needed. Our founding fathers had studied all across the world, in South Africa, in the UK, in the US. So we took what was needed. So for our non-Indian audience, even we borrowed from the Weimar Constitution of Germany. Things were taken from there. you'll get to know. Because Great Britain doesn't have a constitution, so we borrowed a lot from its statutes. We borrowed the Indian Penal Code, the Code of Civil Procedure, so a lot of the statutes were taken in, and of course it's been amended over time. So it's been created because our system was, of course, we were colonized by the British, but also the laws that were there were systematically inserted into our system because our founding fathers were influenced by British education. So a lot of the laws have been taken from there. The French Constitution also there is an influence on the French Constitution, which says that the ideas of liberty, equality, fraternity, that comes from the French Constitution. From the USSR Constitution, who would have imagined the concept of 5-year plans, which is no more there as of 2017. Now we have a Niti Aayog, which plans out the economic plans of India. From the Japanese Constitution, we have taken the laws concerning the Supreme Court of India and the procedure established by law. So you can see from east to west, there is a various ideas taken. We took what we thought was needed for a society and we inserted it in there. From the Weimar Constitution of Germany, we had the laws governing suspension of fundamental rights during emergency rules. Now, that could be an emergency rule connected to financial emergency, or an emergency rule related to a general political emergency, but the rights are not absolute, so these rights are subject to suspension, which was taken from the German Constitution. From the American Constitution, from the preamble outset here, we the people was actually taken from the American Constitution, which opens on the same line also. So it's quite unique. We fused in a lot of different ideas, and we put it in the context of how the Indian Constitution should work. These are the other countries there that we also got from the Ireland, the members' nomination to the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha being the upper council of states in the upper house of parliament. The Canadian constitutional concept of federalism, which I'll talk about a bit more. The Australian system for current list, that means again along the line of federalism. And in South Africa, the election of the members of the Rajya Sabha, that's the upper house of parliament. So the constitution has only been amended 104 times. That speaks to its the way it stood the test of time. It's just been amended 104 times, and these amendments have been done. The very minor amendments have been made throughout time to make sure that the constitution is adapting to society and the cultural needs. So it speaks a lot that the constitution has not been amended a lot because the founding fathers of the nation were very far-sighted. They knew what was ahead. They knew what was. They anticipated what was going to happen. They knew how things are going to develop in the Indian society. So it's actually stood the test of time, the constitution. So this is our federal structure in India, whereby the national government and the state governments, because India, as I mentioned, was a union. It was a loose federation of princely states before India became a union of states. And to make to allow the princely states, who are then becoming states, to feel that you are part of India, they were also given a lot of rights. So there was a balance between the union and the state. There was a balance of power. Even till today, we have, like Mr. Raipur was mentioning, that we have a majority in parliament of a political party, but that same party cannot form a government in Maharashtra because there is a federal structure in place. We have, just because if you're you're a ruling party in the center doesn't mean you'll be a ruling party in the state and vice versa. So there is a true test of democracy is here, which even till today stands the test of time. These are reserved political positions added by Dr. Ambedkar. The scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, if you want to know which are the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, it's there in the schedules, and it's under Article 330 of the Indian Constitution, which protects these rights for political reservations. The Anglo-Indian community, to which I also belong to, has their reservation secured also. 2 seats every year in the Lok Sabha are reserved, is nominated by the president for the community if they don't have adequate representation. Women is something that, as you saw in the video, the idea was already pitched by Dr. Ambedkar, but it never saw the light of day. But recently in the Rajya Sabha, in the upper house of the Indian Parliament, there was a bill passed for 33% reservation, but that has yet to pass in Lok Sabha, which I anticipate should happen soon. So these are the closing thoughts. This is the beauty of India. 22 different languages spoken, officially recognized by the government, different cultures, different religions, different castes, but India still lives as one, India still breathes as one, and India is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for your interesting inputs and presentation. I hope all of you have given up the paper, the quiz, for the quiz competition. Has anybody still got the paper? So, now we will hear a short speech and vote of thanks by Vice Consul Mr. Gulshan Dhingra. I now request Mr. Dhingra to come forward and deliver his speech.
Good evening to all of you. Respected Consul General Sir, Madam, and our panel speaker, Mr. Richard Mantosh, and my friends and colleagues. Before I start my formal speech on Constitution Day, I would like to share a brief and interesting experience of my short stay. I did my bachelor's in law from Delhi University. I would like to share a small experience. It was our first lecture in Law Center to Delhi University in the early 90s, and I still remember the name of our first professor, Dr. Tahir Mahmood. He is an eminent law scholar, and he has authored many books, and in Supreme Court has referred to his books also in one of his landmark decisions in the case of Shah, which is a landmark case in Muslim personal law. So he was our professor and Dean of Delhi University also during that time, early 90s. So Dr. Tahir Mahmood was taking our family class, and it was about subject of this Hindu Marriage Act. And the very first interesting question which I would like to share with you that he posed to the whole class was, does anybody know Tazirat-e-Hind? So we were all speechless because we were in the class of Hindu Marriage Act, and that to be succeeded by constitutional law. Nobody was aware about Tazirat-e-Hind. Though we had heard a lot about Tazirat-e-Hind in Bollywood movies. I just want to know, is anybody aware of this Tazirat-e-Hind? No. Okay. Tazirat-e-Hind is the conventional name of our Indian Penal Code, or which is the official criminal code of India. And that sounded very interesting, and the whole class was very impressed. And we also came to know a lot of other things from Dr. Tahir Mahmood. And before I got just nostalgic, I would like to come back to my speech on Constitution Day. Constitution Day, which is also known as the Samvidhan Divas, is celebrated every year on November 26th to mark the day on which the Constitution of India was adopted. While the adoption of the Constitution took place on November 26, 1949, it came into effect on January 26, 1950, which we also celebrate as Republic Day. The Constitution is the framework for political principles procedures and powers of government. It is also the longest constitution in the world with 395 articles and 12 schedules. The ideals of justice, liberty, equality, fraternity reflects the objectives of the Constitution. The Constitution of India is a supreme law of India. It's a living document, the permanent instrument which makes the government system work. It was in the year 2015 that it was decided to celebrate November 26th as the Constitution Day and commemorate the efforts of our leaders who worked hard to bring our Constitution to form. The declaration for the same was made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 11th October 2015 by laying the foundation stone of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Memorial in Mumbai, and 26th November thus became our National Constitution Day. A country's constitution is its pillar of strength, is the basis of a strong and peaceful society. National Constitution Day is a way to remind us of its importance and celebrate its existence. The day is observed to bring awareness about the importance of the Constitution and spread the ideas of Dr. Ambedkar. The primary principles of Constitution include the rule of law, the independence of legal profession and judiciary. Every citizen in India should know that the Supreme Court is the ultimate body and supports the goals of our Constitution. It works and defends human rights and peace for all citizens. It protects democracy and honors the rule of law. The Constitution of India strives for a secular, independent, autonomous and republic nation. It secures the citizens by equality, liberty and justice. Today, Indian Constitution has experienced 69 years of practice since 1949. As our guest speaker has also pointed out, that the Constitution of India is the longest written constitution in the world. It is unique because it took around 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to write and pass it on to the Constituent Assembly. And before I wind up, let us take a pledge to abide by the Constitution of India and its provisions, and particularly when we are abroad in a wonderful place like Germany. I think we all have to be law-abiding citizens which our family back home in India, our society and our country can feel proud of. Jai Hind.